Well, hello and welcome to another episode of More Perfect Marketing. It's David Baer here, and today we're going to be talking about the people who show up in front of the business and why that's actually sometimes a really, really good idea. So, there's this concept of doing business with people you know, like, and trust. There's this idea of relationship being the driver of business. And to a greater or lesser extent, those folks who run a business, who are at the head of a business, benefit from actually sharing themselves with the people that they're aiming to serve. I'll tell you, I've been to websites in the past where I get there and I have no idea what the name of the owner is. I have no idea what these people are all about or what their philosophy is and how they operate their business. All I see is some sort of stock images and standard generic language on the site. And that does not really get me excited about wanting to know more about those folks. So, today we're going to have a chat with somebody who spends a lot of time with individuals who are the face and often name of their business and really dig deeper into this topic. Hey, Jocelyn Flowers, welcome to More Perfect Marketing.
Hello, David. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. So I saw you kind of reacting and nodding to the experience I was describing, and I wonder if you can sort of elaborate a little bit on your reaction there.
Yes, so as you were talking, I was picturing all of these sites that I've also been to, or even social media, where you have no idea who the company owner is, who's the face, who are you actually having those conversations with. It's just kind of that fake profile. So I'm glad that our conversation today is gonna kind of bring awareness of why we still need to bring that human element forward.
Yeah, and I should say, I said your name. Your name is actually at the core of your business, and when I go to your website, you do the exact opposite of what I just described there. You actually are front and center. It's your name there, it's your bio there, it's your smiling face, and actually a bunch of pictures of you and your team. And so I
Yes.
have a real sense of who you are, what you do, and if I were to, send you an email or do a what is that old fashioned thing that people still call you on the phone, right? That I would know who is at the other end.
Absolutely. And that was a big piece of, as my business grew, I didn't want it to lose that one-on-one connection, whether they're talking to me or another member of my team. I wanted them to have that direct connection. So whatever they see on my website, what they see on social, in my emails, they get to see that there's a real person there. We have the real emotions. You get to see the essence of who I am and who my team are and really what we want to bring forward. And anytime I bring on clients into our agency, I always say, you're coming into the family because, yes, I know we can support your business, but I also want to support you as the individual because you're the forefront of it. You're the driving force that's going to see, is your business going to succeed or not? You're the one that people are having that connection with. So, how can we build on that?
There's something to be said for knowing people beyond just the business aspect of themselves, right? And as I was clicking around your site and trying to learn stuff about you, I got a sense of, some of the things that are important to you from some events that you hosted online a couple years ago. I also got a chance to hear you talk to other people in other interviews about things that were important to you growing up. By the
Yes.
way, just a little, I actually got to live a part of your childhood fantasy. I danced on Broadway. So,
Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
um, but the like that very fact that I learned that thing about you, right? That you
Mhm,
are excited about dance and the arts and all of that. That's kind of cool because then it's a connection
mhm.
outside of just the transactional business stuff.
Yes.
And I think that's part of what we want to come across, particularly in this day and age. You used a term when you said, "Here's what I want to talk about today." What was that term, and why is that so important?
Yes, bringing the human element, the humanity back to your marketing and the strategy that you're using to really increase your impact is so important because ultimately, and you spoke on it just now, is that when you're having a conversation with somebody, knowing who they are as the individual, even separate from the work that they're doing, is going to be able to allow me to create a strategy that supports everything that they want to achieve, all of the goals, whether it's professional or personal in their life, because I'm going to know who they are and how they approach things. But I can't do that if I don't have that honest conversation with them. And are you a parent? Do you have children? What do you love to do with your family? Do you love to travel? These are all things I love to know because their odds are they're going to have someone in their audience who loves all of those same things as well, who participates, who has experiences similar to that. That's going to be that one connecting factor that says, this is someone who I want to have a conversation with. This is someone who I know that I can trust, and they're going to help me with whatever I need help with. And so that's really important for me. I grew up in a small town, so everybody knew everybody. And I got to really see, how those small businesses and entrepreneurs really thrived because they knew the community. They were able to have that connection, and that can still happen on digital. You just have to be more intentional with it. And that's why anytime I have meetings or I'm connecting, I want it to be face to face. I want to be on video. I do still have phone calls, but I always try to get them face to face because you could still lose things in translation, whether it's an email, whether you're texting, or even on the phone sometimes. So I want to make sure that we're all on the same page because when I work with my clients, I'm a partner in their business with them. So if they're succeeding, we're succeeding. If they're not, we're not. So we're going to work at it in that 50-50 manner. And it really, for me, just solidifies that I'm not just someone out there who is, oh, we're going to get your revenue to seven figures. We're going to get your follower count up to this. Because I also want to make sure whoever you're attracting to your business are the people ultimately you want to connect with as that entrepreneur.
Okay, so I want to take this last thing you said and then circle back to something you said earlier because you were
Yeah.
talking about I want to really get to know them and know, who they are personally. And you and I both know as marketers for businesses, right? Every business owner is jumping up and down with joy when you say, "Tell me personal stuff about yourself. I want to use that in your marketing," right? They all just want to share every element of their personal life. No, of course they don't. We
No.
get a lot of pushback around that. So how
Yeah.
how do you navigate the pushback that you get?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the one thing I always have conversations with my clients is, you know, and people will see this if they see my marketing is I'm a lover of hockey. I'm a lover of dance, as you mentioned earlier. There's a lot of things that influence the way I approach situations or how I approach conversations. And those are all little elements that no, we're not going to have this long story about your childhood, but there's things from your childhood or, your relationships outside of the work life that influence how you approach different things in your professional life. And so being able to have little elements of that where you can really showcase the personality, again, everything that someone has to bring to the table. So this is coming full force for me right now is that when I first started my business, I was in New York City. I was a small fish in a very big pond. And I would walk into networking rooms and say, how can I compete with these people who have been in business 10, 15, 20 plus years? They obviously know way more than I do. What do I have to offer anyone in this room? And thankfully, I had mentors along the way that showed me that myself is so unique that there's no new information out there, but I have a way that I approach certain information that is unique that someone's going to grab onto and say, I need to work with this person. I need to know what she knows and run with it
Mhm.
versus, that person that is kind of standoffish in a way because we all have that experience. We go to, like you said, websites where we're like, I don't really know who I'm connecting with. Do I have the same values and, understanding? But when you do find someone that does have all of that, it makes the yes so much easier than having to overqualify somebody when you just have unknown questions.
You've mentioned something here twice now, which is knowing that there's somebody specific on the other side as a business that we can serve and maybe connect with in a better way, or we want to spend more time with them, or they're the right fit for us.
Yes.
How do you take that idea of that? I don't know. We have all kinds of terms in our world for it. Ideal customer, ideal client, right?
Yes.
And look at what we're doing for the
Hmm.
business in terms of positioning them in a way that it's going to connect properly and effectively with that ideal client.
Yes, absolutely. So one of the things that I do with my clients is I have a conversation with them and I say, who do you enjoy? Like, who really lights you up when you're having a conversation? Give me some examples of what that person looks like to you. How is that represented to you? And then we take that and, okay, the content that we're now creating within your strategy, how are we able to talk to that person? What do we have to have represented to make sure that person goes, oh, that's who I need to talk to right now. That's who I'm connecting with right now. And so we go through that. And again, you're going to have multiple different people that you talk to. I talk to coaches, anyone in the coaching industry. They gravitate toward me a lot because I've been in that industry from both the service side and the industry side of marketing and getting out their word. And so I know what it's like to be kind of just starting out and then having some success and okay, now what do I do with it? How do I keep this going? And so it's really important for me to know you're going to be talking to multiple different people, but knowing little characteristics or things that help make creating the content a little bit easier in your strategy. So for me, I love talking to people who love to travel. I love people who want to have that work life balance. It's not all or nothing in one or the other. And because I'm very big on boundaries and I'm very big at training boundaries within my business, not only for myself, I have a lot of personal boundaries for myself because I know if I don't do that, I can't bring my best self forward for my
Mhm.
clients and for my team. And so knowing what those characteristics are, then you know how to talk to them to help them really resonate with what you're saying.
So, okay, so you have a sense of who they're talking to. You talked about this idea of that they are or can serve multiple types of customers or clients or
Yes.
patients or what have you. And I wonder how what the limitations are on how broad you go. I mean, there's all kinds of philosophies on this. I happen to be, of the point of view that you can build out messaging to lots of different audiences as long as all of that messaging is separate from one another because it doesn't resonate as well. How do you navigate it? Because like I said, there's a lot of ways to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. So I always like to, with the strategies that I build out for my clients, I like to make sure that we have kind of a fluid structure to where it doesn't lock them in one way or the other, but we have elements that can speak to two people. So one piece of content may speak to two different audiences,
Mhm.
but not single out one. Then we have something that is a little bit broader where it's more of that generic topic. And then we do have the hyper specific content. You're speaking to one audience and you have those strong call to actions because those people are the ones that are ready to go. They're ready to say yes, where do I sign? How do I get started?
Mhm.
And so really designing that, and it's going to be different for everybody. So that's the thing I stress a lot with my clients. Even though, yes, I work a lot with coaches, they're all serving someone different. So I have a couple life coaches that are working with me right now, and they both serve totally different audiences, but technically they're the same industry and
Mhm.
in general serving the same people. but they personally like to speak to different audiences. And so I formulate their content and strategy around that because that's going to light them up in wanting to have those conversations with them versus having people come in that drain your energy, that just, as a marketer, that sometimes we push our clients a little bit past their comfort zone
Mhm.
because we know that we have to have that mixture of content and different mediums that they're sharing because everybody's going to resonate with content differently and take in content differently. I'm a visual person. So I love seeing very visual content, whether it's video or just very graphically pleasing images. That's what's going to get me to stop and go, okay, I need to read this. I need to learn more. What are they talking about? Versus kind of muted designs for me, I just scroll. But then you have other people that like more of the simpler styled content, and that's what they're going to gravitate towards. So
Mhm.
being able to know really what your audience is looking for, what are they engaging with? And this is where, the analytic data, I'm very big on data driven marketing and knowing, okay, what's working and what's not, because the numbers are going to tell you, they're not going to lie. And you really formulating strategy around that.
You've said a bunch of things that I love there. Right, the data driven stuff is always stuff that we like to hear because it helps guide where we're going. Right.
Yes.
The idea that you shared earlier about creating content that can cast a wide net. Right.
Hmm.
Um, my guess is that you're actually still finding that even though it's wide, that there's a lot of similarities among the people you're speaking to. And I wonder, what types of content might be a good example of what you've described there, that is speaking to multiple
Hmm.
audiences, but it's obviously, we'll use the life coach example, right?
Yeah.
You're helping address a range of issues
Hmm.
professionally. So you're going to
Absolutely.
speak to something that this is the old uh medium or palm reader trick, which is you say something that everybody can interpret. You're absolutely right. You're talking about me, even though you say something pretty darn general, right?
Yes,
How do you do
absolutely.
that?
So I love this question. So you'll see with my platform, I really wanted to be more of kind of that resource base for any entrepreneur who kind of wants to know what the ins and outs are. I know when I first started, there was a lot of learning that I had to do to really feel like I had a solidified business. I knew how to have those sales conversations. I knew how to offer a service or product that I was putting together and really how to get that to people who were interested in it. So my content really does focus around very easy, digestible tips of anything around systems to have in your business, different techniques that are out there, resources to create your content. Because you'll know this too, is I would say about 25% of my audience is other marketers that come and are all different levels within their business looking for, okay, what is this marketer using? What is that market?
Mhm.
We've all done it. And then the other 75% is the service-based providers as well that are looking for, how do I save time? How do I save money? How do I stay relevant? All the age-old questions of getting your work out there and making it unique enough for people to say, "Oh, that's different. I never would have thought of it that way." And so I find generally, even though my content is kind of specific to entrepreneurs in general,
Mhm.
but the ones that come to me and say, "I'm ready to work with you," are the ones that are at capacity and they have to make the change or their business is going to stalemate. And so they're at that tipping point of, if I don't do this, this is never going to happen. And clearly, I need to bring in someone, one who can do it more efficiently, one that helps with creative ideas in that partnership, and that can execute it. Because I find a lot of the clients that come to me, they have the creative. They can give you content for days, but it's putting all the pieces together and getting it out there to the world is the part that they struggle with most. And that's what I like, live in that. That is my
Hmm.
happy place. And finding out ways to do that for my clients, because again, everybody's different. Everybody has a different way that they work. Finding those systems and structures for them that are going to help get their messaging out there to increase their impact, that's what I thrive in. And I am an avid learner, so I'm always out there researching and looking for new ways. So keeping it broad, but you're always going to have that one audience that just clicks and is ready,
Yeah.
that you're going to see more frequently coming in for those conversations.
No, we are all, no matter what industry we're in, we suffer from what's commonly known as the cobbler's children syndrome, right? Which is that we are not very good at doing for ourselves what we can do for our clients. And so I'm giving you an out by saying this up front. You talked about the fact that you're putting content out there for your business, attracting a certain type of coach or service provider
Mhm.
who has a set of circumstances that is pretty common when they come to you, right? They
Yes.
have capabilities and they have needs that are usually pretty well defined. Is there something in your strategy of the content that you're creating that's intentionally designed to attract those folks and repel others?
Yes. Um, so I state it very clearly, who is the audience? Because I know with the services that I provide that generally it's not geared most of the time toward first time entrepreneurs who are kind of just getting started. A lot of my clients are seasoned entrepreneurs who are either been doing it a while and now shifting to the digital side because they've been that brick and mortar or in
Mhm.
person. And how can I leverage both? And so I have, that's one sector. The other one
So
is,
just to understand that in a piece of content, how do
mhm.
you call them out in that way? What is it that you're doing?
Yes. So I always like to have a little bit of comedy or kind of not controversial, it's not the word that I'm trying to think, but something that gets them going, wait, what?
Hmm.
I want to have that because that's going to stop and have them really, take a look at, okay, what am I doing? Is what she's saying something I need to be doing? And often the biggest problems that my clients that come to me are, I don't have the time to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to learn these new platforms. I just want to hand it over and be good. I want to go talk to people. I want to, have more of the work life balance. So, my piece of content around that is showing that even myself as an agency who has a lot of systems that are very automated that work really well for me producing content in a consistent manner, I still have days where I don't want to record content. I don't want to say, here's your resource sheet. So showing the realness behind that, that in the forefront, it looks like, oh, everything's a well-oiled machine, but I still have the same struggles that any of my clients have.
Yeah.
And there's those days, but what drives me is knowing that I have a skill set that can help someone else achieve their dream. And for me, being able to help others is the main goal. I am not looking to become a billionaire, trillionaire. I just want to help as many people as I can, however I can, with all of the skills that I've been lucky enough to learn
Hmm.
and be gifted. Yeah.
So speaking of the skills, but before we hit record, I was asking you about some of the areas in your agency that you focus on.
Mhm.
You obviously you've talked a little bit about sort of the planning work, the strategy work that you do with folks, but on your site you highlight a few areas,
Mhm.
email marketing, which is one of my favorite areas because I love copywriting, and then a lot of stuff around social media, both management and engagement and optimization, I imagine, and I
Yes.
and I wonder how you determine together with your clients what are the best channels for them given what you're trying to achieve?
Yes. So anyone who comes to me as a prospect or just wanting to learn more, I always give them kind of homework off in the beginning. Is I say, let's schedule a week out from today to hop on a call. In that week's time, I want you every single day to make a list. What are all of the things that you're tackling within your day and how much time is it taking you to do those? Because often as entrepreneurs, whether you have a team or not, you're wearing multiple hats. And knowing what areas you really enjoy doing and the areas you don't enjoy doing is something that all kind of melts together until you take the time to really focus on it. So I have them make a list every single day. What are they working on? How long is it taking them to do it? Do they like this task? Do they not like this task? A week from that, I then have a call with them and I say, okay, share your list with me. I want to go through each of these items. Perfect. Now, if this item was taken off your list, what would that change for you in your day to day business life?
Mhm.
If we took this off your list, what would that change in your business life? And we go down the list. That's where I then can get a better picture of what services that we offer are going to give them the greatest impact and time saver and money saver, that they get to be happy again in their business and they get
Yeah.
to do all the things they love to do while knowing they have a partner who's going to handle things they don't want to do,
Mhm.
and they're going to get it done right, and we're going to do it the way, I don't want to say the way they would do it because sometimes we do it a little bit differently, but representing them in the best way that we can
Yep.
to hit the audience they want to speak to.
Do you encounter folks who have on their list things that you go as a marketer, "Why the heck are you doing that in the first place? That's not gonna help your business at all."
I have had a few of those. And again, it's very
Mm.
industry specific.
Mhm.
And so some of them I go, okay, well, I could see why you're doing that, but it may not be the best use of your time at the moment. And so I will always give recommendations, but I'm never going to tell another entrepreneur, you only can do this or you can only do that.
Yeah.
But there may be a different approach to where they can make what that they're doing more effective or do it in a different way that does support their business in a better way. And oftentimes it's something system related of the software they're using or how they're organizing and structuring things. I used to be a professional organizer before opening my marketing agency, so there's a lot of elements that I brought from that translate really well to digital and just business life and in
Yes.
general, that I can kind of formulate and give them better suggestions. um, and one of the biggest ones is calendaring, and it works for both content and just your mindset of what you're working within the day. I love color coding my calendar. And each color code has a different mindset that I need to go into. All right, this one's business development. Okay, this is content creation, and so on. So that I know where I'm putting my attention and focus every time I'm working on something within my business. And that way, I have found it makes it more effective. My team gets what they need in a timely manner to help with implementation. And so, designing that for my clients is really important to me because I want them to be happy in their business, and taking those things off their plate um, that just doesn't bring them joy or isn't being leveraged in the best way possible is something that I drive for.
Yeah, I love the color coding the calendar. It comes full circle because you're not only organized, but you have that aesthetic, need
Yes.
to really guide what you're doing. Um, so I love it. Yeah, I think one of the challenges that you are trying to address is how do I respect the
Mhm.
client from what they've achieved at this point and
Yeah,
also give them the guidance and support that they need without breaking what they've built.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, it's nice to know that you're coming into that relationship with that respect. Not all service providers do. And I'll just I'll use the crack that I made before we recorded. There are marketers out there who will come into a business and tell them, whatever it is that I sell, that's the solution to every problem. And so I think starting with what they've got is a really
Mhm.
good starting point, based on the way that you've described it. So,
Well, and often I find that when you come from that approach, it takes a lot of the anxiety and the overwhelm and the doubt of, does this person know how to help me?
mhm,
Because I can recognize, okay, this is how you've set it up. This is where we've gotten. Okay, it may be a minor tweak or it could be a larger adjustment, but we get to do that together and really design that, whether it's a drawn out process, it's not an immediate need,
mhm,
and really find what that structure looks like for them that then they can continue to build on, because anything you do in your business is, I always feel, is a habit. You're going, whether it's a bad habit or a good habit, you're creating habits.
yeah.
And sometimes it's just shifting a perspective or reframing a specific habit that is the thing that clicks for them and says, "Oh, totally. I completely understand." And that's where you start to see that transformation happening in their business.
I love it. You've taught me something there because I would come into it from a different perspective, I think, to say, hey, why are you doing this? Let's go measure some stuff and figure out what you should be doing instead. And I think you're right that you're easing into it and you're practicing the core philosophy that we started with, which is you're treating another human being the way humans ought to be treated.
Yeah,
And maybe you'll build what you're trying to ultimately build once that relationship part is better established.
absolutely. And I think it just helps building that trust and
Mhm,
that you are there for their best interest. You're not out there for selfish reasons. You're there to support them, and that's it. And I find that most of my clients I've had for 3 to 5 years, they've stuck with me and they've grown with me. They've seen the ebbs and flows of my business and never wavered because they knew no matter what, I was going to be there for them, 50-50 partnership and getting what they wanted to out into the world. Whether that was by myself working 80 hours a week or now working with a team of 5. It doesn't change
mhm.
because my intention is to support them fully, and that's the most important thing.
So for somebody who what you just shared sort of resonated with them, not that there's any obligation to spend the next 3 to 5 years together with you, but to just dip their toe in the water and learn a little bit more about what you do and how you can help them. Where can people find more and what resources might you direct them toward?
Yes, so I actually have a resource for you guys. If you go to jflowersmarketing.com/5 steps, you'll get my 5 steps to creating a social strategy.
5 steps to creating a social strategy. So I'm actually kind of curious what those 5 steps are, and I guess I'll have to just sign up to find out.
Yes.
Well, this has been great. Jocelyn Flowers, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed getting a sense of your perspective and how you approach the work that you do with your clients, and I thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Indeed. Folks, you've been listening to More Perfect Marketing. If you know somebody who could benefit from listening to the conversation that you just heard, please share this with them. Until next time, my name's David Baer. We'll see you soon. Bye bye.